Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Fazila. You're tuning into Fazila Reads. Today's episode is going to be a dedicated book review for These Violent Nights by Rebecca Crunden. These Violent Nights is a standalone YA new adult sci-fi dystopian fantasy book set in a post-apocalyptic world. The story takes place on Earth 300 years after the war between the humans and Surayas. So Surayas are the human-like alien species who came to Earth through a rift between the worlds from a different universe called Salfa. Humans have lost the war and are under constant threat from the Surayas. The Surayas have taken to killing and massacring humans without any thought. The humans are under the threat of extinction and are suffering greatly under the Surayas' rule. They also take humans as slaves. Destruction, torture, and injustice is rampant on Earth, with the Surayas having dominance over the remaining humans. In this book, we follow the two orphans, Thorn and Thistle, who are living under the brutal regime of the Surayas, and they're looking for a way to avenge their parents' death by finding the killers. During this time, Thistle gets an offer she cannot deny from one of the human sympathizing Surayas. Only Thorn is unhappy with the alliance and do not trust them. If you know me, then you already know that I'm a huge fan of Rebecca and her writing. She's one of the most underrated authors that I know, and I wish more people would explore her books. Just like her other stories, this is again one of the most heart-hating stories that explore human condition and suffering effectively. This is a human story like any other and handles a lot of human issues with empathy and care. This is an exquisite fusion of plot and character with a satisfactory dose of imaginative world building. I have always admired Rebecca's ability to create world with believable and compelling characters who deals with situations that are relatable to us humans even in today's day and age. Let's take out the supernatural and alienist factors and we can still draw parallels to our own world and the situations that we face on a day-to-day basis. It's really impressive how unique and plausible all of the settings for the story are. Rebecca is a master storyteller who will captivate you from the get-go, and that's a guarantee. Now let's talk about how amazing the characters were. I loved all of the individual storylines and the different POVs we got to experience. The different POVs gave us an overall view of the world and how things happened according to their perspective. It was really amazing to explore these characters and their experiences, and also knowing the background they came from really helped me understand them better. I know that I'm being vague about this, but trust me, the best way to read this is to go in with zero knowledge of what's happening. I assure you, you will have a great time going in blind with all of the further reveals and twists that will happen. The themes of power play and societal issues of the privileged are quite prevalent in the story. This book has a lot of emphasis on the ill treatment of people by higher class individuals with power and authority. It does a fantastic job of displaying the power dynamics various groups hold and how they handle the power given to them. This book does a good job of depicting the subjugated group's plight. It also addresses the fear of others and how otherism affects a people's behavior. When it comes to the otherism factor, it's also responsible for shaping the characters' individual experiences and also carrying the story forward. The power structures and the resulting character dynamics brought a lot of depth and nuance to an already engaging story, in my opinion. The world building in this book was really good. I loved the lore and history we got to learn and how different the species were in terms of their social structure, culture, and practice. The Surayas were an interesting breed with lots of species in them, and also they had different magical abilities that made them really powerful. The information about the world is revealed as the story goes, and therefore it felt organic and easy to understand. There were no info dumps while establishing the world, which I really appreciated. The pacing is quite good, and I love the progression of the plot and character arcs. It felt natural and believable. I have to say the jump from one part to another with a completely new set of characters took me completely by surprise. I was totally not expecting it to take a turn like that. I think this was mainly because I wanted to follow Thorn and her story. It was a bit of a shock when all of these new events happened and completely shifted the focus. I had to actually push myself to follow those new storylines and the POVs, just to understand how everything was going to come together. I should have known that Rebecca would do a great job and trust her through this process. But I personally think it would have been better as a series to see the different worlds and how they were set up, rather than the sudden transition to a whole new storyline. But I still enjoy the new events that would bring everything we knew on its head. If I have any criticism about this book, it would be about the ending and also maybe giving some more time to explore one of the other worlds. I felt that the ending was a bit rushed, and this could be because I was not ready to say goodbye to any of these characters. And honestly, this has been my experience when it comes to Rebecca's works and her characters. The relationships, whether they were of familial variety or romantic or friendships, they all felt very natural and organic. Each of these were compelling in their own way, and I really loved following them to see how things will turn out. Overall, this was an awesome YA fantasy set in a dystopian world. Rebecca does a fantastic job of creating a story with characters that are flawed and very much human. I love the social structures, the different universes, the species and characters we got to know throughout the story. As I mentioned before, my only issue with this book is that I wish this was a series rather than a standalone, so that we would get more time to explore these characters and also get to know the world a little bit better. I didn't feel like we had enough time to explore all the possibilities to my liking. Other than that, this was such an engaging read with great characters, themes, world building, etc. So it's not surprising that I was completely invested in the story from the beginning to end. Rebecca has become one of my favorite authors at this point, and her works are always going to be an auto buy for me. I gave the book 4 to 4.5 stars and highly recommend the book if you love dystopian stories. Her stories are always unique and have so much to offer in terms of themes and concepts. If you love a good character driven SFF story that is set in a post apocalyptic world with compelling characters, do pick this book up. It's also a self published book, so make sure to support the author as well. What are some of your favorite underrated self published books that you wish more people talked about? I would love to hear your recommendations. That's it for today, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time. Bye bye.